Imagine falling in love with the one person you absolutely shouldn't. What if that person was your teacher? This isn't just a story. It's a raw, intimate confession of a forbidden love that blurred every line. The risks, the secrets, the passion, and the scars it left behind. You won't believe how far we went, or how much it changed me. Before I take you deeper, make sure you subscribe, because this isn't the kind of story you'll hear anywhere else. I never meant to fall for him. He wasn't just my teacher. He was the person who was supposed to guide me, to keep me in line, to make sure I stayed focused. But life has a way of pulling you where you least expect it. It started small, glances that lasted too long, conversations that carried an undertone no one else seemed to notice. He had this way of speaking to me, out of all the students, as if I wasn't just a face in the crowd, but someone he saw. At first, I told myself it was in my head. Just silly thoughts, teenage daydreams, the kind of crushes that fade like smoke. But the more I tried to deny it, the deeper I sank. Every word he spoke in class seemed to have a hidden meaning. Every accidental touch, a brush of his hand against mine when he passed back a paper, set off sparks I couldn't ignore. And then came the what-ifs. What if he felt it too? What if those glances weren't innocent at all? What if the tension I felt wasn't just in my imagination, but something alive between us? The first forbidden steps came late one night, when his message lit up my phone screen. "You still awake?" That was all it said. 3 words that changed everything. We began to talk after hours, at first about harmless things, assignments, music, movies. But those late-night calls stretched longer and longer until the conversations drifted into dangerous territory. He confessed how much he enjoyed talking to me. I confessed how I couldn't stop thinking about him. And in that moment, the line snapped. We weren't just teacher and student anymore. We were something else entirely. Loving him was like living in a maze with no exit. Every day, I had to play the perfect student. Every night, I became something else, his secret, his hidden obsession. We developed codes, words we could slip into conversation without anyone suspecting. If he said, "You did well today," it didn't just mean I'd answered a question right. It meant he couldn't stop staring at me. We planned meetings in stolen moments. A walk after school that looked harmless. A ride home that turned into a slow drive with the windows down and silence thick between us. A study session in the library where no one noticed how close our hands brushed beneath the table. The fear was intoxicating. Every knock at the door, every phone call, every passing glance from someone who lingered too long, it all made my heart race. The lies piled up quickly. Excuses for why I stayed late, explanations for missed calls at home, carefully crafted stories to throw suspicion off. But guilt gnawed at me. Guilt for the lies. Guilt for what we were doing. And yet, beneath the guilt was a craving I couldn't turn off. The more dangerous it became, the more I wanted it. There were nights I lay awake trembling, asking myself how far I would go for him. And every time, the answer was the same. Farther than I ever thought possible. By the time we crossed that final line, there was no going back. It wasn't planned. It never is. One moment we were alone in his car, the rain beating against the windshield, and the next, I remember his hand reaching for mine. The silence between us. The way I couldn't breathe until he leaned closer. And when our lips finally met, it felt like an earthquake had cracked the world in two. From that moment on, it wasn't just tension, it was obsession. We were bound together by a force we couldn't control. Every glance in class was a secret message. Every word carried double meaning. Every chance to be alone together became our lifeline. But obsession is a dangerous thing. The closer we got, the more reckless we became. Staying too long after school. taking risks that made my stomach twist with dread. The paranoia was constant. A friend's suspicious glance, a colleague's offhand comment. The shadow of consequences loomed larger every day. And yet, I couldn't stop. Neither of us could. It wasn't just desire, it was love, or at least the kind of love you only feel when the whole world is against you. Us against the world. That's what it felt like. It had to end. Deep down, I knew it. The breaking point came suddenly, like all endings do. A rumor spread, a whisper here, a question there. Someone had seen something, a too familiar look, a hand lingering too long. The walls of our secret world began to crack. We both felt it. The panic, the way his voice trembled when he said my name, the silence that followed when we couldn't find the right words anymore. And then the truth came out. Confrontations, accusations, tears. His career shattered. My innocence gone. Our secret exposed to the harsh light of reality. The aftermath was chaos. The people who once looked at me with respect now whispered behind my back. He disappeared from my life like a ghost, leaving nothing but unanswered questions and scars that still haven't faded. It's been years now. Enough time that I should have forgotten. Enough time that the wounds should have healed. But some secrets never stop echoing. I still carry the weight of it. The love, the lies, the betrayal. I still hear his voice in my dreams. I still wonder what might have happened if things had been different. And yet, I've learned that forbidden love leaves marks you can't erase. That passion isn't always worth the price. That some choices change you forever. I've learned that sometimes the person you shouldn't fall for is exactly the one you can't let go of. If you've stayed with me until the end, you know this wasn't just a story. It was a confession. A secret I've carried for years, finally whispered into the dark. Subscribe and turn on those notifications.